Okay. Are we muted? Oh, okay. All right, all right, all right. Hello, hello, everybody. Hello to my what Twitch is telling me is my 12 viewers that are the early birds of this stream. My name is Gammy Crayola. I mean, I'm the host of 6WC, yada, yada, yada. But interestingly enough, for the first time in, I believe, 6WC history, we are met today with a very, very special guest of honor. I mean, if you guys are, this is one for the old timers, one for all of the previous staff of previous iterations. The one, the only, you know him, you love him. Maxwell, our 6WC 2023 host. How you doing, man?
Hello. I'm fine, and you?
Yeah, no, I'm doing great. I'm very excited to be jumping straight into what we have planned for us today. Just before we begin, remember, guys, if you have any questions, do check out the Q&A form that we have in the announcement channel. I believe both announcements channels have a Q&A form. We will be doing a Q&A segment at the very end, so do throw in your questions before the stream is over. But yeah, Maxwell, I mean, how are you doing, dude? Like, what are you up to these days? Just a few icebreaker questions to get the boat rowing.
Yeah, no, not much actually. Just a lot of work.
Really?
And
I heard you're still hosting Germany's tryouts this year. Is that right?
actually, no. I finally managed to pass on the torch. Like
Wait, who? Is it
I'm
Turley?
still. No. I'm still watching over everything. But
Mhm.
the host now is Hopes, with help
Ah,
from Xuche, and Telly is just the cheater.
I see. Well, hopefully Germany's in good hands.
They are.
So I guess we can just get straight into our whole list of questions. We have quite a lot to get through. I think let's start from the very beginning. It's good to get some context as to where your 6WC journey as a host began. So I guess what kind of hosting experience did you have going to 6WC? I believe before 6WC you were involved in some MTS, an MTS tournament. I believe I don't quite remember what that stands for. If you would remind me.
It's Maxwell's tournament series. Pretty basic.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that something along those lines. And other than that, you mentioned how I think in your bio back in the day you mentioned like Rocket League hosting. Is that right? Tell
Yeah,
us a bit
yeah,
more about that.
yeah. So I could talk about this for days probably, but I will try to keep it short. Yeah, prior to hosting Osu, I hosted a league called Nitro League in Rocket League,
Mhm.
which at the time was the biggest competition in the German-speaking region, which means Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and basically the countries around Germany, who also have regions
Ah.
speaking German.
Mhm.
We even were at our peak the second biggest Rocket League competition
What?
outside of the big Rocket League Champion
Mhm.
series worldwide.
Mhm.
Um, the only one bigger was the French league.
Oh. Of course, of course.
Germany versus French all over again.
Yep.
Um, yeah, we even had invitational tournaments and open LAN tournaments on conventions with big stages.
What?
Like think about like CUE.
Uh-huh.
You could
Uh-huh.
compare it to that.
No
We also
way.
we also had a show match once between the best German team and another team of our league. So that was funny. No, that was cool as well because all the people who were interested in our league could talk to the pros. Because our league is still bubble and not the peak of the mountain.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I basically did that for 5 years and built this one from the ground up together with the main host because I wasn't the initial host. I was an
Mhm.
admin. But over the years, the main host quit, and I basically took it over together with a new host. Yeah, during that time, I also worked part time as a professional freelance admin and got work from quite a few big names actually, like Epic Games and JBL Quantum.
Whoa!
Yeah, I actually hosted a Fortnite tournament once.
Wait,
Crazy.
sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but what
Yeah.
exactly is a freelance admin? What does that entail?
Basically, there are companies
Mhm.
that call themselves like media foundries or something like that, who are like in Counter-Strike terms, you could think about Blast TV.
Ah.
And these companies organize tournaments, and I was signed on by one from the UK, and they did a lot of influencer tournaments,
Mhm.
and I worked for them part-time a bit.
As like a
So
freelancer, right?
yeah, exactly. So I
Okay.
also was able to get a lot of international experience, um, and with YouTubers who have more than a few million subscribers,
That is
which was
that is
nice.
that that's insane.
Yeah, but I can tell you they're also just people.
Right. I mean,
Um,
I would assume like that's the kind of mental barrier that you have to get through when you're working with people, that with that kind of influence.
yeah, exactly. Just because they have
Mhm.
a million followers and make a lot more money than you, it doesn't mean you have to be scared of them or anything.
Mm. Mhm.
Most were also quite nice people.
Oh, that's sweet.
Um,
That's sweet.
yeah, and during that time, that was from 2018 to 2023. About that, I also played a lot of OSU tournaments,
Mhm.
and that's basically how I got into the OSU space.
Mhm.
And after 6WC 2022, all I knew was that Nightmare and Hobo, who hosted 6WC 2022,
Mhm.
wouldn't continue hosting 6WC. And I thought, well, I don't want to let it die. And I think I'm qualified enough
Ah.
to take on this big of a project together with Tally. Couldn't have done it
Mhm.
alone. Um, yeah, I didn't know it at the time, but there was actually one other person who wanted to host, but I guess I was faster. Um, yeah, but before I host a tournament this big, I wanted to
Mhm.
host at least a smaller tournament because I wouldn't go into it basically knowing nothing.
Mhm.
Um, so we hosted MTS, which then
Right.
was our test run, and
Mhm.
this one went well. Sounds weird, but zero issues, like literally
No
zero.
way. First tournament, no issues. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty weird because well, we played a lot of tournaments prior to that, so we knew what could went wrong,
Mhm.
what could go wrong. Sorry, and yeah, but there was literally zero. Like even the map pool feedback channel was fine, eh, which is
Really?
yeah, you don't see that these days
Wow.
anymore.
I'm so envious of you, my guy. I'm so envious.
Yeah, don't
Um
be envious of me. Be envious about our pooler. Like Bearded
yeah,
Hippo did like 90% of everything alone
class, yeah.
with pooling, so
Well,
that's all on him. Yeah.
a quick shift. You mentioned how you were a player, right? You played a
Yeah.
lot of tournaments before. If I recall correctly, you were actually the captain of the 6WC 2022 German roster. Do you think that sort of like pushed you to take on hosting, or was this something that you knew you wanted to do? Were there any experiences that you had as a player that motivated you to, take on the duty of host?
I wouldn't say so.
Mhm.
Like like being the captain of Germany in 6WC 1 and 2
Oh,
was
okay.
very cool. I'm sorry. But no, I think the main motivation was the reason I quit hosting Rocket League, which was basically it was getting too competitive. It was getting
Right,
too
right.
much about money, and once money gets involved, people start to cheat and everything. And yeah, just hated that. I had to quit adminning it because I had more to do with um, cheating incidents and stuff like that, and it wasn't fun anymore. You go to work, you come back home, and have the next issue on hand with people uh, going at each other because one was cheating and one wasn't, and all these things. I just didn't like it anymore. So I
Okay.
thought, well, Osu looks promising, especially because, well, most Osu tournaments don't give a money prize pool, but a supporter prize pool. And it's also very community centric, which I love. Yeah, that's
That
basically.
is.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally sympathize with that. Also, it's one of those games where, very community driven and everything comes from the players. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can definitely see that. Initially I had written on my notes, what was it like receiving the honor of hosting the World Cup? But from what you mentioned just now,
Yeah.
it was mostly like a fastest fingers first thing for at least for your era of take of that transferal of duty per se, because at least from my experience, there was a whole selection process going into 6WC 2025, which is very different. But I mean, do you still have anything to say with regards to this question?
Wait a second.
So
You
sort of
forgot a
like
little.
yeah, no. What
No,
was
just
it
you
like?
forgot.
Yeah, go for it.
It's, I don't really have anything to say about it. Like I said
Mm-hmm.
before already, nobody apparently wanted to host it, and I thought, well, I could do it, and yeah,
And
Mesh
you did
wanted
it.
to, but I was quicker, and he didn't even
Ah,
tell me,
I
so
see.
I basically had no competition in that.
I see. Do you want to talk about like Mash's position in 6WC? Like, I think his role, at least in 2023, was a bit murky. What exactly was like the structure of your admin team in 6WC per se? I know you had Turley on your team, but maybe shout out to the other people who helped you through in the admin
Yeah,
team.
sure, of course. Telly was my
Mhm.
co-host.
Yep.
Hobo was one of my admins,
Hmm.
who also did a lot to help us. Mashiev was also an admin who didn't do quite as much, but that's totally fine because I signed them on, telling them I just need your input. Like I wanted them to tell me when I'm doing something wrong or when I'm guiding the tournament into a wrong direction.
Hmm.
And well, let's just say Mash would have hosted the tournament a little different from
Hmm.
myself. So at some point, he just said, well, I can't help you with your vision. So he just let me do my thing. Um,
Ah,
and that's fine. He still, whenever I had a question for him, he answered it pretty quickly, and I was totally fine with that. Same with
I see.
the third admin, who then vanished again. Right,
Oh.
Ladon?
Oh, goddamn. Okay. Well, moving aside from that, let's skip alongside a bit to, you know, the actual hosting process, right? Do you have a certain mindset or like a certain standard that you wanted to uphold going into 6WC 2023?
Yeah. So 6WC 2022 was one of the tournaments I had the most fun at. So
Really?
so um, coming from esports, where everything was very strict and getting very money oriented, I was very happy to see such a community work um,
Mm-hmm.
coming together to host such a large scale tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Like, m- make no mistake, Osu might not be a mainstream esports title, but the player count is comparable to big tournaments.
Like esports tournaments? Like other esports tournaments?
Yeah, like
Really?
6WC has a few thousand players every year, which is
Mhm.
basically comparable to big Counter-Strike or big Rocket League tournaments. Like they also
Oh.
only, in quotation marks, hit a few thousands. A few thousands is a lot. So yeah, I would never underestimate the Ozo community when it
Damn.
is about tournaments. So yeah, and I basically wanted to give back to the community. So I wanted to use all my knowledge and skill I have acquired over the years to host the best 6WC iteration I was able to, and definitely better than
Right.
2022. A little competition.
That well, since you mentioned 2022, right? Was there like a tournament that you wanted to either match or surpass? Maybe aside from the previous iteration, was there like another tournament that you really looked up to when you were working on your iteration of 6WC?
I would say my role model for OSU tournaments was OWC and Corsays.
Ah,
Uh,
yes, of course, the classics.
like they were the benchmark I was trying to get close to at least,
Mm.
because at the time I thought that higher ranked tournaments always looked down on 6-digit tournaments and made fun of us. So I basically wanted to show that six digit can also host high quality tournaments. And I gotta say, I talked to Stage, the host of 5WC. Well, not anymore, but he was at the time for 3 years or something. He also said that 5WC and 6WC in 2023 were probably top 5 of all OSU tournaments that year.
Really?
And I think the same,
Wow. Wow.
at least
Yeah,
quality wise.
I'll be completely honest with you. 6WC 2023, one of my I think my first tourney I've ever qualified in. So I was not involved in the scene whatsoever. But I mean, from what I remember, it was a really phenomenal experience. I remember seeing that map pool showcase and going, wow, with all of the sick animations, all the shit. I can't remember the stingers that you had throughout every map. I thought it was just incredibly cool. So yeah, I wouldn't wouldn't doubt you on that statement whatsoever. Moving aside from your goals, what kinds of challenges did you face not during the tournament, but in the time leading up to the tournament, like say pooling wise, staff wise, developmental wise? What kind of challenges did you face?
I would say in retrospect, I don't think we didn't have that many challenges up front because we started conceptual preparation like 6 months in advance. And so we had plenty time to figure everything out and prepare for any possible things that could go wrong and test them out. So the biggest challenge for me as a host is always finding a good pooler, a head pooler, a
Yep.
GFX artist who's able to figure out what I want, because I certainly can. Um, I'm very bad at imagining something new design wise. And well, something I still struggle with today is delegating work,
Ah,
because most of the time I think, well, if I can do it myself,
I'll just do
why
it.
don't I just do it myself?
Yeah.
Saves time for everyone
Mhm.
else but me.
I
Yeah.
understand. I understand. Well, then perhaps you could talk a little bit about how you and perhaps your administrative team likes to work. Some team structures work differently. Do you like have weekly meetings with your teams whenever you're hosting? Is it more like impromptu? You like your designer sends a design and everybody chips in on text. Like how do you communicate with your team?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because when I joined tournaments as staff after 6WC 2023, I saw all these things like you just mentioned, like weekly meetings and stuff. Like 5WC especially had weekly meetings and monthly meetings, which was a little culture shock almost, because it was getting serious again. No, we
Hmm.
in 2023 did it pretty I don't want to say lazy, but it was pretty open. Like we didn't have
Really?
meetings. We just basically had our Discord chat and sent everything in there that needs to be talked about, and it's getting talked about on the same day. And we didn't even have many voice calls, like only for the big
Really?
things, like prior to um, posting the forum post. We talked a little just to be sure that everything has been thought about and all these things, but we didn't really have voice calls or anything. We just invested a lot of time in preparing announcements,
Mm-hmm.
and we posted the announcements in a test channel. I do it still on the German trial server. Our staff
Mm-hmm.
can see it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think a announcement test server is the most important thing because you can post it there, people can read it and can instantly say like that there's an error or something doesn't make sense, and
Right.
that's almost all you need, I would say.
Damn. So it's pretty low maintenance. I see.
Yeah,
Like as long as everybody, is it right to say that you had that kind of trust in your team, that as long as there is work to be done, you can trust in your team to get it done, like they put thought into it and get that response out to you so that things can run smoothly. Is that right? Am I right to say that?
I would say so, but also a
Mm-hmm.
big thing about this is um we planned like a lot of details prior to the tournament. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything that in some way or form had to be done was laid out in some way, and I just had to make sure that everyone who had to do something was also doing it, and like everything was doing it. I didn't really have to tell anyone, hey, you're late on something. And yeah, many things
Mm-hmm.
I did myself, like sheeting, stream organization, and
Mm-hmm.
these things. So yeah, if I was delegating more work, I definitely had to um, pay more attention to this. But since
Ah, I
I
see.
did so much myself, I didn't have to look over so much. And everything I had to look over, I had very clearly laid out. And every
Mm-hmm.
week I had an announcement post where it said what to do. And I think that helped a lot.
Ah, I see, I see. Would you say that your experience in prior esports definitely helped you, like find your leadership style in terms of, how you communicate with your team or how you want to work with your team?
Yeah, 100%. Like without that, I don't think I would have had um, the the um, the organization level required to
Ah, ah,
host such a tournament with comparable little experience in hosting OSU tournaments.
I see, I see. Oh, that is definitely very interesting. Um, I guess I guess now moving on into the actual tournament. What kinds of challenges did you face during your time, hosting the tournament? I mean, this is mostly talking about what happened during the tournament. I know 6WC has always has its fair shares of map pool complaints, screening arguments, multi account. So yeah, tell us a bit more about what kind of challenges you ran into during the tournament.
Yeah, so as I said before, having planned out everything to very fine detail, and we
Mhm,
didn't face many challenges doing that. Since we also tested everything in advance, so everything was working out nicely. And if something would have caused an issue, we basically found out about it a week prior. So
mhm,
um, I wouldn't call that challenges because we prevented them, but
mhm.
there were challenges. Like we wanted to stream every single group stage match,
Oh
and
no! Oh no!
that was a big challenge. But we still managed to stream like what 98% of all matches. Like I think we only
Shiroi Ame, my
didn't.
carry.
Yeah, 100%. Like we streamed only 2 or 3 matches were not streamed, but also two of those like didn't happen. I think those were FFs, and all
Mhm.
other match were streamed. At one point, we had 5 or 6 batch streams at the same time,
Damn.
which is a screenshot I probably still have flying around somewhere. And
Mhm.
this was just amazing. Fun fact: I sent that to stage, and he was amazed that we actually pulled that off.
Ah, oh
So,
man.
so yeah, that was one thing, and I can't really talk about struggles in pooling because I, luckily enough, had Tally and Bearded Hippo take care of that. So I didn't really have much insight into pooling at all. Also, not the map
Mm-hmm.
pooling channel. I know that some people were not really happy about some pools, but yeah, it
You
wasn't
can't please
my
everyone. You can't
it
please
wasn't
everyone.
it wasn't my responsibility, and I know that Hippo and Tally were more than competent enough to manage that. So I basically didn't look into it at all,
I see. I see.
as long as
Well,
conversations stayed civil and respectful.
I see. Yeah, no, I totally get that. Well, I guess moving a bit closer into like specific incidents per se. Do you how would you advise newer hosts to overcome you mentioned like a few incidents where people were unhappy with things or people started complaining about some stuff even if it was respectful. How would you advise new hosts to go about this information and allow them to either improve themselves or look past these complaints or whatnot? How would you advise new hosts to get through player feedback?
Yeah, since you just mentioned incidents, I think I should have talked about this in the prior segment. Yeah, we did have an incident actually caused by my own country. Thanks for that. Um,
Oh shit! Oh, I
um,
forgot
that
that.
that
Oh
certainly was a challenge. The multi-report incident and the thing that Yimazu did with Izita. So,
no, man.
well, well, for one, you can't really see incidents coming. Like sometimes
Mhm,
they just come out of nowhere. You're just minding your own business, and suddenly your Discord notifications explode.
mhm,
And you have to deal with it. Well, since you ask about tips I can give to hosts, well, for one, stay calm. Um, if you up to this point have done your preparation and all these things and are confident in them, there's not much you can do wrong. You
mhm,
have to make sure if it's like two people going at each other or two groups of people going at each other. For one, don't necessarily pick a side.
mhm,
Try to calm them down. For
mhm,
one, like if you're still at the stage where they spam the Discord and everyone's trolling, and then people who don't have anything to do with the incident start trolling as well. Like
mhm,
try to bring some order to chaos first,
mhm.
and after that you can like talk to the both people in like DMs and stuff and
Right.
clear it up. And the most important thing is always be fair. Know what your rules are, act within them,
Mhm,
and always be fair. Try to find the best solution for both, not just one. Even if one person clearly went against a rule, still try to find the best solution for both. Like
mhm,
sometimes you have a little bit of leeway, like the in the lack for a better word, I just gonna call it victim, will be able to be a bit open up a little and allow more than they would normally if you talk to them.
mhm.
Like just find the best solution for everyone involved. It's not always easy, but at some point, if if like if you have such a big and a difficult case where you just can't find a solution that pleases both sides, just yeah, keep to your rules,
Mhm.
fairly decision, and be consistent. That's the most important thing. Be
Right.
consistent.
Right. Mm. I think that's a really important thing. Like being consistent. You can, whatever decision you make needs to be upheld throughout the tournament. I totally
Yeah,
understand that.
exactly.
I think going back to perhaps what perhaps going back to the incident, would you say that or I wasn't too familiar with like what was happening in the server at that time, but would you say that you received a lot of backlash from it given how it was from your country? Was there pressures to act in a certain way because not only are you the host, you were, as you mentioned, right, the two-time captain of the German roster in previous years. Was there sort of acting pressure on you to favor a side, make a decision, or?
There were definitely people who were under the impression that I was biased towards Germany and not punishing them in a way that was appropriate.
Mhm,
But the thing is, people are quick to judge, and issues are not resolved within minutes. So
Mm.
while people were going at me and even reported me to also stuff, actually, I learned that from a global moderator that I got reported.
Oh
um,
wow.
Basically, yeah, just clear up the situation and yeah, that's not much
Mhm,
I can say about this because I know that I wasn't being unfair.
mhm,
I banned one of Germany's players and the other one got temporarily banned from Osu, so they were punished enough.
mhm,
And it were just two people causing the incident. Like one said a weird thing to another player in the lobby, and he got a mass reported for it, which also
yeah.
isn't a good solution by all means, especially not mass reporting someone during a match. But let's just say he got the punishment he deserved. He couldn't play anymore, and
Mhm,
also it's important to know I cleared up the situation between the two. They talked about it before, like
mhm,
it was set up from both
mhm,
sides. To be fair,
mhm,
one said, "I'm gonna do this. Are you fine with it?" And she said, "Well, I don't care. Do what you want." But she
mhm,
knew,
mhm.
and that's why I said he doesn't deserve a punishment. Uh, the backlash he got from the community was enough.
Right.
And apart from that,
Ah,
the other
yes.
player who said bad things in the Twitch chat got banned ultimately from the tournament.
I see.
So I think I
I
was
see.
very fair about this.
Mhm. So in scenarios like this, right, where hosts are constantly getting accusations of, it could be bias, it could be, other sorts of things. What is one piece of advice you would give to a host in order to deal with all this negativity directed to specifically themselves or their team around them? And especially how would they use this to navigate themselves and, either continue making improvements, calm the situation down, de-escalate the situation, and continue running the tournament as usual. I think it's a very very common thing for hosts to really struggle with because a lot of people aren't used to getting such harsh negativity. So I mean, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, basically, it's the same with any social skill. Like, you need to learn that people can and will talk a lot of. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
No, yeah,
Sorry.
you are. Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, well, they will talk a lot of shit to you, especially if they're mad. Also, keep in mind that sometimes when they're mad, people say things they don't actually mean.
Mm,
And also keep in mind that people, especially when they're mad, are not being rational most of the time. So don't take it too hard when people are insulting you, and just know who you are and what you're doing. And if you know that you did everything right, there's nobody really who can hurt you.
uh-huh.
And
So it's
it
about
uh,
self-confidence. Is that right?
it does require self-confidence, yeah. And you can train self-confidence by making sure that you objectively did everything right.
Mm,
But I know there are still people who will still be able, who are still able to be influenced, and you can't really say anything to these people because they're just lacking some mental strength, and that's just something every one of us has to cope with. So there's not this one thing you can do to have everything ricochet off of you. It's just, well, try and learn to, yeah, get some self-confidence.
no, that's very very well said, Maxwell. I could not have put it any other way. Well, I guess that moving along from just hosting 6WC, maybe let's take a retrospective look, or let's take a look to see what your retrospective look of 6WC was. So, you were a player in 6WC for 2 years, right? So, of course, at some point you would have some premonition about the six-digit scene. But do you think this impression of 6WC, or not 6WC, but the six-digit tournament community in general, do you think it shifted as you stepped away from a position as a player and stepped up to the position as a host? Because I think these are two very different perspectives. So I'm interested to see if you personally had any shift in opinion with regards to the tournament scene that you grew up in?
Oh, yeah, no. As you said, I played 6-digit tournaments before, so I knew how the tournament scene was like, and it also didn't change during 6WC or after 6WC. All I know is that I think I did a good job at proving that 6-digit tournaments can be high quality. And I think we've seen a lot of high quality tournaments after 6WC 2023. We also saw some before. But I think we saw more after 6WC 2023. I'm not the one to say we did change anything, but I know that tournaments have improved since then, definitely.
Well,
So my
I sure hope
impression
this
was
one lives
fine.
up to your expectations, my dear.
Okay. I haven't been looking much into 6-digit tournaments the last year or two. So maybe I also missed a lot of things. But my impression was that after 6WC 2023, we've seen a lot of more high quality tournaments than before.
Yeah, I think I would definitely have to agree. Like the CBT series, CU CBT series is very successful. A lot of CU's tournaments currently are very, very successful. NWC, I think, also very, very solid stuff. The
Yeah.
Newcomers World Cup, yeah, a lot of very successful stuff. And I think it's right to say that 6WC 2023 was probably the first of its kind, the most daring of its kind at the time, and really set the pace for the rest of the scene. So yeah, I think
Also,
that's definitely
yeah.
something to be proud of. Go for it.
Also, something very important to mention there. We had map pool videos. We streamed every single match and all these things. That's not something you have to do. To have a good tournament, you just need to have it well prepared. You need to have a plan. Follow this plan. Improve it if you find anything is bad, and just make sure that everyone has a great time. And then, even without all the fancy things, you can have a great tournament. Because after the tournament, it's only important how well people remember your tournament.
Right. That is very, very well said, Maxwell. I love to touch on that later on, but before we move on to that, what kind of I guess you kind of already told us about this, but would it be right to say that the impact that you hope to leave with hosting the World Cup was to possibly, improve the tournament scene as a whole, push people the question push people to believe that 6-digit is a rank range that is more than just a breeding zone for multi accounts. It's more than just a new place for people to get easy tourney wins. Is that am I right to say that?
Yeah, I would say so. I hope our impact was to raise the bar a little of what is considered a good tournament, because I think hosts always have to make sure they're hosting a good tournament. I don't want to raise the bar too high, but it just needed to be a little higher than it was prior to our tournament, because there were a lot of low effort tournaments prior. Like a lot of tournaments that got cancelled because the hosts didn't want to continue and all these things. Yeah, I hope we raised the bar at least a little, and we showed what is possible. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you so much, Maxwell, for that. And well, if it matters at all, I can say, as this year's host, our biggest inspirations for this year, the iteration of 6WC, had to be obviously your iteration of 2023. I mean, it was one of my first tourneys, and it greatly impacted the amount of effort that we wanted to throw into this iteration. So thank you so much for that. So, that aside, I think we sort of chatted about this in DMs, but you didn't quite elaborate on it a lot. But what did you do after 6WC with regards to either the OC community, or you mentioned how you did freelance hosting, or hosting in general. What was your path after the 6-digit World Cup?
I quit.
I
jokes aside.
mean, man, a few words. What can I say?
Yeah, no jokes aside. Telly and I were completely burned out after 6WC. Like, we both invested probably more than 1,000 hours into it, and especially with all the cheating that I certainly did. But so at least for a year we didn't really touch anything. Like Tally was still playing tournaments, but I couldn't even do that. And some might remember who stuffed for 6WC2023 that stuff banners took a lot of time, because I initially wanted to do them myself, but after 6WC I couldn't touch Google Sheets anymore. Like every time I opened it, I instantly had to close it again.
Whoa.
It took a lot of time to realize that I was burned out because I didn't understand why this was happening, but yeah, I was just burned out. So yeah, I did stuff a few tournaments, like especially Dach Cup, where I was and maybe still am in the future, the main ref, like organizing all referees and stuff. So I did do a little bit of minor work. I also hosted tryouts for 2024 and 2025 6cc at least. I also played 6cc because I couldn't play
I remember
6WC anymore, which is fine, and I'm sad that I could today. But it's your tournament. You're free to host it the way you want.
I'm sorry.
D-Ranker World Cup is back.
Is 6WC why is 6WC? Is this 6WC or DWC? Go on, sorry for cutting you.
Yeah, and nowadays I quit playing as well, because the only thing I could achieve more while playing is winning a tournament, and nowadays I just couldn't do it anymore. Not with the play count I have. Like I barely had enough play count to play 6cc 2025. They wanted to screen me for being inactive. Yeah, I got a second place in 6cc. I got a third place in 6WC. If we disqualify Italy, it was a second place as well. Yeah, I'm fine with what I achieved, so I'm not playing anymore. I still plan on hosting MTS2 eventually, when I feel like I can meet my quality standard again. At the moment,
will I be able to play it? That's the real question.
If I host it, it will be 5-digit.
Okay,
Probably
okay.
to 25k to 75k
Okay,
or something like that.
Okay. I like the start of that.
Yeah, at the moment I just don't have the time for it.
Right. You heard that, chat. MTS2, MTS2 coming to a forum post near you. Anyways,
at some point.
What did you do during the time where you took that break? You know, you mentioned how you were burnt out. Is there anything that you did in your life, in your IRL life, that helped you overcome this sort of breakout and slowly help you creep back into the OSU community?
No, I don't really did anything that would help me break the burnout. It just took time.
Right.
It just took time and mental clarity that this is what was happening, and understanding why. And all these things. I didn't do anything specifically that helped with it, or else it wouldn't have taken a year. Yeah, but apart from that, I don't know. I don't really think I did too much. Like I got promoted in work to the higher company.
What are you working as? Are you like freelancing, or it's not freelancing, obviously, but
no, I freelance doing studies.
Yeah.
I quit okay, yeah, fair. 6WC 2023 made me quit my studies.
Oh damn.
Because I couldn't do both things. Also, I had a hard time at work because I was doing more for 6WC doing work hours than I was doing for work. So yeah, I had to fix that, especially. And then I quit university. I got full-time employed and bought the car that I dreamed of. And
Damn, W, dude. If I could give you a pat on the back, I would right now. Respect. That's great to hear, man. Oh well,
basically fixed my life path, you could say.
Well then, how do you think, in retrospect, 6WC has changed you, not just as, a host, but a leader in general, be it, if it was a team, be it if it was an admin team, like how has 6WC changed the way that you took leadership, or changed your approach at leadership?
Well, the only thing that really changed is it showed me, especially in retrospect, how important delegating work is.
Mhm.
Like, if you don't want to get burned out, delegate work. Don't do 1,000 hours. um, there are a lot of competent and very good people in the OSU community who can do it just as well as you, or maybe even better. So delegate work, and everything else. It, I wouldn't really say it changed. I mean, I know now that doing too much can cause burnout, but apart from that, it also enforced me in my perception that what I do is, I, it
Hmm.
it sounds cheesy, but what I do is good. Like, I hosted a good tournament. It all worked out like I planned. We had this one incident that I could have never prevented because it didn't have anything to do with me, which is important. The incident wasn't caused by us or the
Mhm.
staff or anything. It was caused by the players amongst themselves.
Mhm.
And it just basically enforced that I know what I do is good and that I can continue with that if I ever plan to host
Damn.
MTS2.
Damn, beautiful, beautiful words, Maxwell, man. Well, with that, I think it's we're already an hour through, but I think it's time to move very quickly over to the Q&A segment because I really think that there's some good stuff. Huge shout outs to everybody who sent in their questions. I know this time I didn't ask you to put your name, so whoopsie daisy. I will definitely change that next time. But anyways, this player says, I was happy to commentate most of your matches during 6WC 2023. For some reason, I think this is Wooden Pickaxe. Thanks so much for hosting. If you want to turn back the time, would you make any changes before 6WC 2023 starts?
Would I make any changes? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I said it enough now, but I would probably delegate more.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, change anything. Well, I think the most things were fine. I
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I would have changed much.
Yeah, I mean that is totally fair.
If anything, I would
Mhm.
increase the quality further with the Discord bot and all these things that got developed today. Like future tournaments also raised the standard of what can be done even more.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking
So
about like Lenexia's schedule board. I think it was Sinsa that
yeah,
pioneered
yeah,
it in NGT. Yeah, definitely remember that. So
yeah, that's a
yeah.
nice one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, your bot that gives us the player information, which well, you
Oh,
could also
Willem.
just which well, you could also just have it on a Google sheet like traditionally, but you can also flex into a Discord bot for it. It certainly looks nicer. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm
Yeah, I
always
think.
for simple and looks nice.
Yeah, I think some background on that. Willem was like, I pinged Willem about it. I was like, try hosts are getting angry. They want information, and then Willem was like, well, you see, I could make a sheet, right? But
Just
but
make the
what if I made a
information
bot?
public.
What if I
Not
just made a
harder.
bot? and so like if Willem spent about a day making the bot. And I'm very happy to see that for the most part people don't hate it, which is which is good enough for me. Anyways, let's move on to our next question. What is something that you would tell your past self in terms of hosting slash OSU in general? Is this another delegate the work incident?
Basically that, yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
I think I have enough experience, and yeah, the only mistake I did was the delegation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, also don't delegate too much because at some point it's not your tournament anymore. But on the other
Mm.
hand, every tournament is a tournament from the community for the community. You are just the guy stupid enough to organize it and be the one
Oh,
responsible for everything and
right,
catching the
right.
strays when something goes wrong.
That's so real. That's so real. You get it. Um, I think this is a really, really interesting question. This player, and especially coming from a 6WC host yourself, how do you view 6WC's winners or their podium placements legitimacy? I think this is mainly targeting in 6WC 2022 the Italy multi-account incident or the 2023 Kesja incident or the Arajin incident in 2020 in 6WC1 or the 2024 Peru incident. Like every year there seems to be this kind of incident. So I mean, you as a host of the past, what are your opinions or what's your view on the legitimacy of the 6-digit World Cup podium?
Yeah. So well, for one, we always have to keep in mind that even with the best screening, you will always have people who are way better than the rank range. You can have your opinion on that. Personally, I think it's not very nice if there are a lot of D rankers. On the other hand, if you want to win the biggest tournament in the 6-digit rank range, you also have to be the best player. So even if you can make an argument that D rankers don't belong here, on the other hand, you will always have D rankers. So in that regard, how legitimate is it? I think it is legitimate. Like, even if I say Italy should have been retrospectively disqualified from 6VC, well, we don't know in what matches they cheated. Maybe they didn't cheat at all doing 6WC. We just don't know. Cheating is very hard to prove. And like that, I think different people can have different opinions, and I don't think there's a right opinion. There's just like
opinions.
Everyone take it for themselves. Like, I personally think if you are top 3 in 6WC, that's one thing that's consistent about all years. You are definitely supposed to rank up. You are too good for the rank.
Oh, hell no. I thought you were gonna ego boost me. Oh, god damn it. I'm gonna cooked. So cooked.
If you are top 3 in 6WC, no matter what year, you are too good for 6 digit.
Well, I guess while we're on the topic of players, what are your personal thoughts on the 6-digit tournament scene, be it, as a player or as a host? This is a very general question.
Can you repeat the question? I don't think I really understood it.
What are your thoughts or opinions on the greater 6-digit tournament scene, be it like when you were in the scene or, nowadays when you've sort of pulled back?
Yeah, well, as I said before, I think prior to our tournament, there were a lot of low-quality tournaments, and if I read the chat correctly, there are also a lot of low-quality tournaments today. Generally, I think it's always nice to see low-rigged tournaments. On the other hand, like, perspective is shifting. Even a lot of 4 and 5-digit are finally realizing that high 6-digit are becoming very good. They're able to play maps that they have been able to play like 2 or 3 years ago. And like, there is a shift in perspective, and thus we are not really, especially with high 6-digit, we are not the lowest ranked tournaments anymore. Take NWC.
That's true.
And with that, I think I personally hope again that quality is rising. I don't expect badges anytime soon. Maybe at some point in the future. But I personally think never badge 6-digit. Like, it's 100,000 players. Like, don't do it. If you want to badge 6-digit, introduce badged tiers. Like, a 6-digit badge or even a 5-digit badge shouldn't be as good or as important as a open rank badge or a 3-digit badge, for example. But that's an entirely different conversation. But generally, I like the 6-digit scene. It has its ups and downs, but I think it is very important in training the MREC of the future. Let's take that.
Damn, Polski won my goat. That's Polski won my goat.
Fire for Germany.
was your most? This player asked, what is your most memorable tournament and match in Osu as a player? This is an interesting one. You know, we've been talking about hosting a lot, but as a player,
My most important match?
your most memorable tournament and match in Osu as a player.
Yeah, well, I think two qualify. For one, it would be non-professional Cup 4,
Mm-hmm.
which I personally think was one of the most interesting but not streamable tournament formats. Like
Tell
for
us about
people
it. Yeah.
who don't know it, non-professional Cup 4 was a tournament of qualifiers. Like every round was a qualifier, and I even got to the grand final in that. So it was very fun. And apart from 6WC and 6EC, my best placement. And for match, I think the most memorable match I ever had probably was 6EC Grand 6EUC Grand Final against France, where we were coming from the upper bracket and lost twice very close to them, which also started my losing streak against France.
Oh,
Like,
oh
like
no, not the French.
I didn't lose twice on that day against France. They also made sure that I lose every other match against France I have afterward. So there's that.
Mhm.
I think that's about all I can say.
All right. I think that's all the questions that we have time for in the Q&A section. So yeah, let's sort of wrap this up with a few more questions. I'm sorry for holding you for so long, but
That's fine.
what do you think is the most important trait of being a leader? Not just a host, but a leader in general.
Yeah, the most important traits, for one, are organization,
Mhm.
delegation, as mentioned before, consistency, especially consistency. Like treat everyone the same, treat every incident the same, be consistent about your ruling and stuff. Yeah, organization, plan everything out, and be a nice person. Be someone people want to work with, and they will do that.
Yeah. Could not have said it better. Thank you so much, Maxwell. And I mean, as any last words, final advice to any aspiring host in the future, anybody who's learning, you know, sheeting, anybody who's learning how to do video editing, in fact, any like normal host that's looking to take their tournament to the next step. Do you have any advice when it comes to learning and growing as a host?
Yeah, for one, don't be afraid to try things out. Like even for people who want to host for the first time but are afraid to completely ruin it, even if you are completely ruin it, it doesn't matter as long as you learn from it. Like even some of the low quality tournaments that we've seen in the past, the second iteration was a lot better, and that's important. Improve. Like if you do a lot of things badly, you do have a lot of things you can improve on, and that's also good. Like after MTS, I didn't have much I could improve on, and it certainly didn't help. Um, yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help, and always know that there are people who can do things just as good as you or even better. Like ask for help if you need it. There are a lot of people with a lot of knowledge in this community and who are happy to share what they know. Use it. And yeah, make sure you follow these two fundamentals of good tournaments: competitive integrity and providing a fun experience for players, staff, and viewers alike. Like that's the most important thing. Be fun and make sure that competitive integrity is good. And if you can fulfill these, then you basically already have a good tournament. Then it's just how do you set yourself apart? But that's just the seasoning.
Oh, thank you so much, Maxwell.
You're welcome.
Before we go, do you have any last shout outs to anyone in the chat?
I mean, since this was mainly an interview about 6WC2023 and my role in it, huge shout out obviously to Telemano, who made it possible. Especially, I don't know how many know, but he, from my personal perspective, he did save 2024, because without him, it probably would have been cancelled or something. So in my opinion, he did save it, even if some may have different opinions about it. A huge shout out to Bearded Hippo, who did all the pooling in MTS, and also did a formidable job in 6WC 2023, and well, basically to all our stuff, and especially all streamers and commentators who worked their ass off to stream all these matches. Like basically everyone who received the banner, and especially a MVP banner, thanks to you. And thanks to all players and viewers and everyone who supports the entire tournament scene. Yes, you the viewer.
And I guess while Maxwell is thanking everyone, yeah, thank you guys so much for the support that we've had this year. Well, Maxwell, as we come to the last few seconds of this interview has gone on for a little over an hour, a little bit over schedule, but is there anything else you'd like to say to the chat before we wrap it up?
No, the only thing I can say is have fun. And if there were more questions for me in the Q&A part, feel free to send them over to me. I can answer them to people.
Yep, you heard it from the man himself. Well, Maxwell, if there's nothing more from you, thank you all so much for tuning in for this first Sliderbreak stream. This has been an idea that has been pondering over our heads ever since the festival concept for this year of 6WC has come around, and I'm so grateful for all the support from you guys, and especially Maxwell. Thank you so much for joining us as a guest of honor, and our very first guest of honor. How fitting, as one of the most influential hosts, at least when it came to the planning and preparation of the 2025 iteration of the 6-digit World Cup. Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome. Please call it Sliderbreak. I can't.
Sliderbreak, like a break. Like, okay, I'm gonna die. Well, yeah. Yep. I think that's about all we have for today. But before we go, I just gotta shoot some stuff. We still have 5 slots left for our postcard the map competition. In addition to that, tomorrow at 13 UTC, we'll be having a very exciting stream coming in from one of our mapping quality assurance members named Spawny. You might know him as one of our video editors and one of our quality control mappers in 6WC. He will be throwing out I think at the end it will be like an hour long worth of mapping history for the entire player base, but you'll see a short snippet of it at 13 UTC today, right before all the matches happen. So if you are interested in seeing that, I personally am so hyped to see what he has cooked up. I have not looked at it at all, but I know Spawny is very passionate about this stuff, and I'd love for you guys to go show him some support as well. But other than that, matches will start at 14 UTC tomorrow. If you have a match, you know what to do. This is the second last event that you have to qualify for the Apex Theater, so try your best. Practice the pools as much as they might not be the most playable. But yeah, with that, Maxwell, do you have any last words for the stream before we close it off?
I can have fun.
Yeah. And with that, thank you so much to everybody involved. Thank you, Perry, to rushing these stream GFX very quickly. Thank you to Munamu for being the one who provided us with our lovely guest of honor banner, as well as Mirage Fire for, of course, being our lovely streamer, as always, for this 6WC Project Hexagon stream. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, he has been Maxwell, the 6WC 2023 host. And my name has been Gammy Crayola. You know who I am. This has been Project Hexagon, and we will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye.